Hi everybody, my name is Krikor and welcome to my YouTube channel. This is Philosophers of the Future. Here on this channel, we're going to study past human thinkers and explain their thoughts. Then we're going to use those thoughts to try to explain and understand some of the problems in our world today. This is my first video. I'm really excited. I hope you guys are too. Here we go. So the first question we have to ask ourselves is, what is a philosopher? Now, by definition, a philosopher is a lover of wisdom, someone who's going to think critically about the world around them, from math to political science. Now, originally, philosophers would ask themselves questions like, what is stuff made out of? And what is the best political regime? Now, as academia has been split and fractured into so many different parts, philosophers were the original academics, looking for an objective truth or some sense of justice in the world. Now, I think philosophers are better understood as a navigator or a prophet, steering the ship of humanity in a certain direction. They go beyond the day-to-day life and understand where society is headed, or humanity is headed in general. Today, we live in the future that has been set for us by past philosophers, and we need to understand what path we decided to take. And we can do that by looking at some of the past great philosophers. By understanding the past great philosophers, we can move forward and start to really understand some of the problems we have in today's society, from global warming to mental health. You might assume that humanity's always had the same relationship with nature, one of domination, one of complete destruction. It seems today that nature is sort of at odds at the most comfortable life for humanity. However, these ideas of comfortability and humanity's domination of nature have not always been the case. In fact, it wasn't until Machiavelli and Rene Descartes came around to shift human thought in that direction. Rene Descartes famously declared that humans, using reason and method, could become the master and possessors of nature. This meant that we were no longer interested in really understanding the natural world around us, but rather we could understand what is practical and useful for our society. This idea of practicality and usefulness is also mirrored by Machiavelli, who said he wanted to focus on what humans shared the most of, our animalistic instinct. He was going to focus on the low. He comes in direct conflict with past ancient philosophers such as Cicero, or Cicero as Romans would say. People like Cicero would say that humans need to focus on what makes us human, the high, the things that separate us from the animal instinct. However, Machiavelli wanted to focus on the low, the lower parts of humanity that we all shared, things like fear. As Machiavelli famously declared, it's better to be feared than loved. And while Cicero tells us we should be neither the lion nor the fox, Machiavelli says we need to be the lion and the fox if we are going to successfully navigate a political field. Machiavelli wants to unleash the dams and dikes of humanity. Machiavelli wants to unleash human emotion and the things that people like Aristotle would have told us that the great man should keep within. Machiavelli is going to tell us to unleash these passions onto the world and let the political side of things control them with dams and dikes. While the ancient Greeks, like Aristotle, focused on what made us different than animals, we now focus on what makes us similar to animals and focused on overcoming nature. And I think that makes sense, because as the human condition gets better, as there are more comforts in the practical life, we understand that our relationship with nature is getting worse. The natural world is sacrificed in order to make a comfy habitat for human society. And that's something that I want to challenge on this channel, that those two things are at odds. And that's something we're going to explore further. How many times do we look around and we think, wow, it's really too bad we're destroying all this nature, or I wish the Amazon wasn't being completely destroyed. But these things are going to continue happening unless we shift our relationship with the world around us. Again, looking at politics, we need to understand that we can focus on the high, the better parts of society, rather than the low. I think these are important shifts that we need to make in our lives today if we are going to move in to the 23rd, 24th century without a complete destruction of humanity. I think these are important thoughts, and together we can all figure out how to reorient our lives and reshift and become the philosophers of the future that are needed if we are to survive. Looking at any graph from the 19th century of the Industrial Revolution will show you, look at a basic population growth chart, and you'll see that Earth cannot live with the larger structures that have been put in place by the past. We need to reorient ourselves and shift into the future. And we're going to be focused on exploring the past to understand how these larger structures came into place by past philosophers. Then, maybe, together, we can move into the future. Alright guys, thank you so much for joining me here today. If you liked the video, please consider subscribing or liking the video. I would really appreciate it. I hope you'll join me here for my next video. Fellow lovers of the truth, until next time.